Today I decided to give you guys a review of Fantastic Four: First Steps. This is the fifth Fantastic Four film and fourth that was released theatrically, and is apparently the first in the sixth phase of the MCU. The film stars Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, aka the Invisible Woman, Eben Moss Backrack, hope I'm pronouncing that right, as Ben Grimm, aka The Thing, Joseph Quinn as the Human Torch, and, of course, Julia Garner as Shala Ball, the Silver Surfer. The basic premise of the movie is that this film takes place in a pseudo 1960s aesthetic, futuristic type world that's separate from the rest of the MCU. And the film takes place about 4 years after our heroes got their powers after going to space in a cosmic event. If you've seen the other Fantastic Four movies, you pretty much know how they get their powers, and this film just glosses over it because it's not really an origin story, which was smart. What happens is, in the film, they basically go to space after their Earth is threatened by the Silver Surfer, who claims that Galactus is coming to devour the planet. On another trip to space, find out that he's a formidable threat that is next to impossible to stop, and they must devise a way to stop him and the Silver Surfer from destroying their planet and save their child in the process as well. That's the basic premise of the movie, so let's get to the good. First and foremost, I love the aesthetic. I do believe the film actually does take place in the 1960s, only it's a different version of the 1960s, obviously, with it has futuristic stuff in it. This is great because most of the famous Marvel comics did begin in the 60s. Not all of them, like Captain America was the 40s, but ones like Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, The Incredible Hulk, big ones started in that decade. And it's really cool to see the characters that we know and love in basically their original aesthetic, with some obviously scientific futuristic stuff added in. So the look of the film is definitely one of the best things about it. Another positive of the film is the casting. Now, I wouldn't say these are necessarily my favorite versions of the characters, but I think that everyone here is doing a great job. Pedro Pascal plays a damn good Reed Richards. Sue Storm, played by Vanessa Kirby, is great. Johnny Storm leaves a little something to be desired. He's fine, but doesn't really play the playboy Johnny that we all know and love. Kind of the more naive member of the group and not as taken as seriously as the others. But Ben Grimm might be my favorite version of the character. He's CGI, and while I do prefer the live-action look that Michael Chiklis portrayed in the 2005 movie, I just think practical is always better than CGI. It's really good CGI, and it's very comic accurate this time. So the characters are really solid. Another positive of the film is the visuals themselves. The CGI is on point here. It did look a little hokey at times, but for the most part, everything has a great scale to it, especially Galactus. The city looks magnificent. The special effects are just top-notch. This is the best looking Human Torch has ever looked. When he's actually fully engulfed, he actually still looks like the actor, which I thought was great. And the other films just kind of don't do a good job of that. It's never been a bad effect, outside of the 90s movie, that is. But they did a great job of it here, and everything else looks great as well. Reed's stretching looks good. The invisible powers have a nice, almost rainbow-like translucent look to them, kind of like looking through a bubble. The Thing moves and articulates very well, especially for an animated character. I think the effects on Silver Surfer were a little iffy at times, but for the most part, she looks great as well. Another positive to the film would have to definitely be the story. I think it is rather simple, but it's basically a Doomsday type plot, not to be confused with Avengers Doomsday, or Doctor Doom, that is. But the world is basically in danger, and it's at the Fantastic Four to save everybody. And I actually think it's really handled well here, and that's basically what you see in a lot of Fantastic Four stories. Otherworldly type threats that they have to encounter and deal with. And also, a great positive to the film is the references to the comic book lore. You actually see the Mole Man in the movie, and he's played magnificently by Paul Walter Hauser, and he is just really funny in every scene that he's in. And they even have exact images that are taken directly from some of the comic panels and even comic covers, and it's really a nice little tip of the hat. And the last positive I'll say about the film is that it's basically standalone. That used to be how every superhero film was, but then everything became like these shared universes. And while I do like the shared universes, it's nice to see stuff that doesn't require a bunch of homework to get, and you can just jump right in, which is really nice. Now on to the bad. And really, there's not much. My categories is basically the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the bad is really kind of more mixed stuff, and the ugly is the bad stuff. But there's really not much bad here. The only thing I'd really say is some of the characters like Johnny could have used, not necessarily development, but we could have got a little more with the character. I kind of missed that he was like a playboy here. And here he's like this young, attractive guy, but there's really no women in his life. And I guess maybe they're trying to downplay the playboy thing a bit. Maybe they found it, well, he's offensive, but I don't know if they need to play that up some more. And Ben is great here and even has like something of a budding relationship with this school teacher, but it doesn't really go anywhere. And I kind of just wish that Ben Grimm and Johnny Storm had a little bit more to do in the movie. They are good in the film, but I feel they do take a little bit of a back seat to Reed and Sue. And as far as the ugly, well, there's really no terrible aspects to this movie, so sorry, Tuco, not this time. All in all, Fantastic Four First Steps is a very enjoyable film. It has a really good plot, magnificent visuals, a great 1960s aesthetic, and I have to admit, it is one of my favorite MCU films. Honestly, I even enjoyed this more than James Gunn's Superman, which actually kind of surprised me. If you like the Fantastic Four, you're going to love this movie. If you're a fan of superhero films in general, you're going to have a good time. And if you haven't been a fan of the previous Fantastic Four films, I think you probably will like this one because it actually does the characters justice, unlike the other entries. Although I do really like the early 2000s ones, even that left something to be desired. So after 5 tries and 4 decades, we finally got a great Fantastic Four film. And I'm going to have to give Fantastic Four First Steps a 9 out of 10. This thing is really good and it's amazing, but it was not quite a 10. I do reserve that for films that are just truly spectacular. And Fantastic Four First Steps, the quote a meme, is fantastic. I thank you all for watching. Let me know what you thought of the film down below if you've seen it, or just tell me your favorite Fantastic Four character. And peace out.